Hello and welcome to the Lunch Counter. We're here today at Zia's Italian Fine Foods. I'm Michelle Rule and we're going to talk about privacy in a very public world. Are you on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube? Are you kids? Let's hear what the experts have to say about how our private lives are changing under this very public microscope.
There has been a new trend among employers to ask potential employees for either access to looking at their Facebook or even for their Facebook password. How do you feel about that?
I disagree completely. I think it's an invasion of privacy, and it's no business of theirs. And if you choose to put things on Facebook, then that's your choice if you want to make it public, you know.
And what about you? How do you feel?
I actually wrote a paper on this in school. I just winged it though. I didn't really put much thought into it. But for me, I'm totally the opposite. Like, I think if you're a floozy, like out partying, like with, you know, your Facebook page, like that's who you are, like then yeah. But I mean, I agree with her too, because it depends on what they're discriminating about.
We are now gravitating into online spaces, into this virtual world, cyber world. And we're often operating in two realities. There's the face-to-face reality, and now there's the digital reality, the virtual reality. And there's not a lot of overlap, I think, on how people interact in the face-to-face sense and how people interact online. I think in part because people don't really yet fully understand the consequences of the things that they do online, the things they post online, and that once something is there, it's forever. Whereas in the face-to-face sense, we've been readily socialized to understand, you know, what's rude, what's not, when to say thank you, how to, you know, make eye contact with somebody when you're talking to them. Our parents did this for us, but we haven't had, you know, a cyber upbringing because we've sort of just kind of fallen into cyberspace where somebody's pulled the collective rug out of all of us, and we've all falling in and trying to figure out what's happening while we're falling at the same time.
And what's appropriate and what's not, and then
yes.
Once it's out there for good, and no retractions.
And part of that too is that we have what author Mark Prensky calls digital natives and digital immigrants. So digital natives are people like yourself who are growing up in this, immersed in this cyber world. Yeah. Typically the cutoff is about 30 years old, and those above 30 are the immigrants. And that this is what's happening, in that the natives and immigrants are now fighting one another, and it's a cultural kind of clash. This conversation won't make much sense 50 years from now. Whereas, you know, all of people like yourself, you're going to be members of parliament, judges, lawyers, doctors, RCMP, and the rest of, well, they'll be retired or dead. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's going to happen. And there will be only digital, you know, natives about.